Yeah, it literally keeps on moving. I think it depends on the size of the screen and I'm sorry, the size of the window and what's going on because it literally moves. Okay. Yep. I just fired up IntelliJ and that's exactly where my cursor was. Dependency types. So yeah, I guess should have checked there. So let's see. We've got implements, a definition. Let's just review this. Refers to components or a component that provides a concrete implementation of a feature or functionality. Examples are algorithms provided by crypto libraries. Crypto asset implemented by a component does not imply that it is in use. Uses refers to components that are referenced by other components. The referencing can be done by explicit function calls or by configuration at runtime. Usage may change over time, so bombs always represent a snapshot at a given point in time. Ah, yes, protected by. Who's got a brilliant definition for that?
I think we also wanted to make the definition a little bit more general. I think we copy pasted it last time from the crypto.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, you did already. Okay.
One question that I have is
references to crypto assets, so it's not should apply to all components now, right?
would you ever have a case where something implements and uses at the same time?
I mean, I would say. Okay, I just wanted to say that uses is kind of a superset of implement. So when it uses something, then it's also implemented, but not the other way around.
Right.
That's my understanding.
Yeah. Yeah, if a component uses something like a crypto asset, it can be implemented by itself or by another component, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's definitely possible that the component can implement it and also uses it. Think about hard-coded crypto algorithms in application.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, that's what I was thinking of too. Okay. So if that's possible, then do we want to make this an array? Or like if we wanted to represent both uses and implements, would we actually end up with multiple dependency objects? Because if we end up with multiple dependency objects, we actually might end up with an issue because I think the uniqueness is on the reference. I think I'd have to dig in.
Yeah, I think it would make it more compact, right? If it's an array. But I think we had an example that actually validated well with uses and implements.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that was an issue, but I think if it's an array, it would make it more shorter, right?
Yeah. Just a note to myself. I know this is invalid JSON, obviously, but okay. Okay. I think we moved a lot of that crypto specific out of the definition. We left it in the examples, which I think is fine. First two components that are referenced by other components. I think this is actually fine.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. The examples are the only thing that's crypto related, which I think is still valuable and fine. Protected by.
Yeah. I tried one definition that I can just paste in the chat.
Sure.
Maybe just for discussion.
Like that.
Mm.
I'm not sure. I mean, say an example is data that depends on crypto assets for protection, right? That's what we. I think that was a case that we had, right? For where protected by is useful. I was not sure about data, right? If that would be a component as well or another.
What's that? You're not sure about? Oh, data. Data is another component. Yeah.
Okay, right. So that would then work, right? So if say
Yep.
components depend on other
Yep.
components like crypto assets for protection.
Yeah, so data is basically just another type of component. And then within that component, kind of like what we have for crypto properties, right? We've got an entire big thing for data where you can specify what kind of data it is, whether it's configuration or source code or whatever, or data set, etc. You can specify data classifications. You can specify data governance, who the owners of those, the data stewards, the data owners, etc. So yeah, it's a pretty big block of stuff. This definition actually works pretty well, I think. Nicholas, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I like it. Works quite well.
It's better than what I could have written.
Same here. Maybe we should ask ChatGPT again.
Exactly. Ship it. Okay. Awesome. Looks like we need a capital on that though. Let's see.
In the case of was wondering, protected by would only apply to a dependency involving a crypto asset, right? Or could it be something else as well?
No, it could be something else as well. So you could have theoretically you could have a I guess theoretically you could do like something like a let's just take LLMs for example. You could take an LLM and maybe the input for that so the prompt for that, maybe it is protected by a library that, I don't know, tries to filter out bad words or something, right?
Right, yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Library or by some application that provides certain protection features, right?
Yeah. And this is interesting because it's going to tie into, and this will probably end up being expanded in the future, would be my guess, but there is some, I know we're working on 1.6 right now, but we're already formulating ideas for what we want to do for 1.7. And the general theme of 1.7 is really helping the defenders in the organization. So like a bill of material only tells you what's inside of something. It doesn't actually tell you what it does. So if you are a defender, say, you've got an application and maybe you've got a vulnerable component in that application. Well, if you knew what the application does, for example, a really simple use case, I get input from like a web form or an API. I process that data and I persist that data into a database. That's the use case. That's what the application does. And I noticed that before I process the data, there's no input validation, for example. So as a defender, I know that maybe if I need to protect that application, maybe I deploy a WAF, a web application firewall, so that it's going to restrict the input coming into that application in the first place. Basically, essentially performing input validation because the application doesn't do it by itself. So we're trying to like describe in 1.7, we're going to be describing what the application does so that we can better help defenders actually defend. And the protected by, I think, is starting to kind of go into that realm, in my opinion, which is really interesting. I'm going to bring in, I'm going to try to get Jeff Williams to attend these calls if possible, at least for this anyway, because he might have some other dependency type things in mind too as well, which may or may not apply to crypto, but if they do, we will be able to use those as well. But anyway, that's kind of what we're going toward for 1.7, just FYI.
Yeah, I think that's might be interesting also for the crypto part then, right? If you can describe what the crypto asset is actually used for, right? Specifically.
Right.
It's used,
right.
yeah, for protecting, right, the data. But what does it do? What does it actually do? It does establish confidentiality or authenticity, integrity, protection.
Right.
Of, yeah, just
Well,
these kind of things.
yeah, once you go down that, there's all kinds of possibilities that open up, obviously. Our preliminary, how we're talking about that, at least initially, is we're referring to them as blueprints. Basically a blueprint of what the application does. And obviously, you can get, if you look at an architectural diagram, for example, you can get like a really blown, far back, zoomed out model, or you can go in to as much detail as that model actually has, right? And that's kind of the concept that we're playing with 1.7. But for this, I think for minimal viable for 1.6, I think implements, uses, and protected by makes a lot of sense. Did we already go through these or no? I think we did, didn't we? I think we do need to talk about the enums though.
Right.
Some of the enums make a lot of sense and other ones are just really, really long, which I actually don't have a problem with, by the way. But what if a new algorithm comes along, you won't be able to use it right away in the spec.
Yeah, I think that was a point that we had to look at the enums and make them, yeah, see if can use, if it makes sense to use the enum or make it extensible, right?
Yeah. Now, one thing that I honestly don't like, we've got you're familiar with CycloneDX properties, right? And then we've got the taxonomy that formally registers those things, which is great. I mean, it works. We're using it for hardware just because the number of possible fields varies based on industry and the type of product that you're manufacturing and everything else. There's a lot there. So that's actually a lot of how we support hardware today. But I personally don't like it all that well because it's, I can't validate it with JSON schema or XML schema.
Yeah.
I see a nod over there.
I think that was our motivation, right? To use enums, so you can
Yeah.
run the validator, and then we know it's
Yeah,
valid.
and even to extend the schema, I mean, we had a discussion in the first place. If we use the properties, just extend, because Matt was just pointing us to the IBM namespace area and was like, yeah, you can use it and extend it. And we're like, yeah, maybe have a look. And yeah, exactly for the reason you said. That's why we didn't do it. Also because, like, if you want to represent complex structures as properties, it's also difficult. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
One thing that we possibly can do is, let me just show you in, so we support SPDX license IDs. And so when you define a license, you can either define its SPDX license ID, like Apache-2.0, or you can specify its name. Maybe it doesn't have a registered SPDX license ID. Maybe it's, some Microsoft license or an IBM license or whatever the case is, right? We actually define the SPDX license IDs in an external schema that we can update at any time we want, independent of the CycloneDX schema. So, we might update the SPDX schema like a couple of times a year. So, for example, we are currently tied to 3.21 of the official SPDX license list. That's what this kind of represents. This is the structure of the schema. This is the SPDX license list version that we use. But we could theoretically offload a lot of these cryptographic type things just because it's, I don't want to say it's fast moving because it's not, but there's a high probability that somebody will want to use a brand new thing when that thing is just released, because it is a new hotness, so they'll want to be able to represent that.
Yeah. How does that compare to the URNs and the extensibility there? I mean, you suggested that for the certification level, I guess. There's an issue in the schema repo for that. I mean, I'm just curious now which way we want to go then, or what are the benefits of the pros and cons both ways.
Of what was the other one?
Using URNs that we can then extend some way.
Yeah, we're not currently. Let's see. Let me look at the spec schema, or spec repo.
I can also post a link in the chat.
Make certification level extensible. Keep certification level and enum, but make it extensible so that it has so that it can also potentially use a URN. Okay, so what this is saying is keep it an enum just like the way it is, but allow for a IRI reference as an alternative to what the enum value is. So if it is a URN, then we wouldn't validate it strictly to the schema, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's basically what that's saying. The other way that we can do this is instead of using a URN, we could basically do it just like what we're doing with SPDX.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is certification level. Let's look at certification level.
Yeah, it's one of the bigger.
Right. This is the FIPS. Yeah, we could do the exact same thing with this, quite honestly.
Yeah.
Use of URNs in the schema so far?
What's that?
Is in the schema, is there any use of URNs?
Not really.
Yeah.
Which would be, you know, it would be a diversion from what we currently do. I mean, the property taxonomy is kind of a URN. If you actually put URN colon in front of it, it would actually become one. But it's not officially registered.
Yeah.
So it's like a proprietary URN basically.
Yeah. So the pro I see with the external referenced schema is that it's still an enum, right? So you can still validate it.
Yeah, that's the benefit of doing like this, right? We could have like a crypto enum type schema and just offload all the enums there.
Yeah.
At least for the things that are going to change a lot, like certificate keys, you know, that one enum that's up there, that's not going to change, but certification level could certainly change.
Yeah. I think the asset type themselves, like a crypto algorithm and certificate, I think this should remain quite stable, right?
Right,
But
exactly.
the
curves
other
will
one,
definitely change.
yeah. But I mean, yeah, the curves here, that's yeah. But could we just have one external JSON for
Yes,
all the enums?
it'll keep it easy. Yes, yes, we can do that. So let's figure out which ones we want to do it for and which ones we don't. Maybe that would actually be a good exercise, and then we can and then I can spend like the next between now and the next time we meet actually externalizing the enums that we decide on.
Sounds good.
Come on. Okay, so algorithm, certificate key, protocol, related crypto material. I honestly don't think that's going to change. At least it shouldn't.
No.
All that much.
I'm working on a PR actually. Maybe we can talk about that next time. That basically combines two of those entries there, key and related crypto material, to support the use case that Lars, I think, brought up, so that you could have an expiry date for any kind of tokens, passwords, and so on. So I mean, yes, it would change, right? But I hope after this change it remains stable, right?
Okay. So you're going to be checking that in soon?
Yeah.
Okay. Algorithm properties, primitives. I don't think that would change either unless you want to correct me.
Yeah, I think it could change, right? There are some new primitives certainly that will come up in the future that are not commonly used, right? I mean, don't know how like zero knowledge proofs would fit in at the moment.
Okay, right.
So I think it could make sense to keep that relatively flexible. I mean, I don't expect it doesn't change as frequently as new curves or so, but still it can evolve over time.
So we're offloading primitives, we're offloading curves. Yeah, this is the big one, isn't it? Yep. Implementation level, software plain RAM, software encrypted RAM, software T, hardware, other. Okay. Okay. I don't think that'll change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Implementation platform. Yeah.
And these are the most mainstream ones, right? But I mean, they can change as well, right? There is some, not as often. I mean, like risk
Yeah.
5 is something that will come more often.
Right.
I'm not sure. I think ARM v9 now also exists,
Does that exist yet?
or not yet, or it's planned or something like that.
Steve, just for curiosity, because I also worked with the particle library. So is the CycloneDX strategy more on like validating actually the values by using the schema, or is there also the idea to have like logic in the particle libraries that validates the values that are defined there? I mean, so which direction you go depends a little bit on maybe how we how much we have to trust the input from from the schema, even if you are able to validate it.
Right. Yeah. I really like the strictness of enums here because if you want a true machine readable standard, it's kind of what you need to have. I mean, otherwise, if this was like a string field, right? People could write, Intel architecture. Oh, that's actually something that's missing on here, isn't it? IA64, because that is still a thing, I think. That was what was that called? I can't remember what it was called.
IA64.
Was the architecture? Was that IA64?
Titanium or something.
Titanium, that's what it was, yeah. Yeah. Getting out the cobwebs.
Discontinued in 2020, according to
Discontinued in 2020. Okay.
Wikipedia.
You mean the architecture or Intel?
Maybe we just put that under other. A footnote in history. Yeah, all your Apple processors will fit in here, right? So
yeah, there is now ARM v9 as well. So
it does exist now.
yes.
So what's the ARM v9 dash what? A&M?
Yeah, there is
What does the A&M actually stands for?
Yeah, the M probably for mobile or something, or it's more the embedded architecture, and A is the bigger one for the Apple M1 or for smartphones and so on.
Got it. Okay. So ARM v9 is a thing. Okay. Yeah, I don't think this is going to change too much. I mean, most everything is going to fit into here anyway. I mean, some things will fit into here, obviously, in your organization, but for the most part, everything's going to fit in here.
There is also S390 without the X. These are the 32-bit.
Oh, right. Okay.
The 32-bit architecture.
Is the bit length. Well, we have it up here, so yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess that is kind of important. Does the differentiator between, I guess, the full-blown thing and the mobile, is that kind of a requirement, or could we shorten that to just ARM-v7, for example? What additional value is the -A versus the -M?
Yeah, it's not. I think it's not compatible, right? You cannot. If you have a -M binary, it won't run on the -A architecture.
Interesting.
Um,
I don't know a lot about ARM, so even though I use one on my personal machine, Apple architecture, but I actually don't know a lot about it. Okay. So we'll keep this in the spec then, is that what we're saying?
Yeah, I mean, just also there may be a general question: does it harm us when we put it not in the spec and put it externally? I mean, then
Not
we
really.
have the ability to extend it if there's any new things. If we bled it in the schema, then we not have the ability, so we can.
Yeah.
yeah. I think, I mean, there are in general a few architectures that come up within, I mean, within a year or so, or within a few years. So
Yeah.
it will definitely need some update after some time.
Maybe also just for maintenance, if we have all the enums in one place and we want to update the schema, we don't have to jump to, all the different places. Maybe we just have to update then
Yeah.
this one external schema.
Yep. Sorry, just taking notes. Certification level. Offload that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, we now say either enums or URNs, right? But would it be possible to have both actually, or let's say to put that in an external JSON, but still have some way to express other values? If somebody wants to describe some certification, for example, I don't know, more exotic one.
Yeah.
To enter that without breaking the schema.
Yeah, you'd have to have an alternate field for that if you wanted to do it universally across JSON, XML, and protobuf. You'd have to break it out into a different field, and then you'd have to either say that certification level or certification level name. One of those two, for example, would be required, right? The name would be like just a string versus this, which would be an enum, which is kind of what we do for licenses, right? You can supply either the ID or the name, but not both. So, yeah, we could do something like that here.
Yeah, maybe it's a good point. Someone maybe has this internal certification standard and don't want to publish it, even the name, to an open project, and still want to define it. Maybe that's the thing. I don't know.
Could you now right now this is not an array, right? This is just, you can only supply one. So what if you wanted to do FIPS and CC, for example?
Yeah,
Good
I also
point.
just wondered about that before. That's a good use case. I think it could happen, right? So I mean, especially if you have
Yeah.
some internal certification, right? And at the same time, it's also common criteria certified. That's possible, right? So yeah, maybe it's better to have an array for that.
Is that what we want to call it, or a certification level string? Or, I mean, I can call it whatever we want.
I like name. It's okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So I'll make that change. And so this one, let's see, we're externalizing it and we're changing it to an array, modeling it after license height and stuff. Okay. All right. Mode. Is there any reason to offload this?
Maybe yes, because there are I think there are there will be more modes than that in general, yes.
Padding?
Yeah, also here I think yeah. Yeah, with crypto functions, I think it's we said that the primitives we put in the external schema, then I think also the crypto functions should go there because they are kind of connected.
Yeah.
We can encapsulate, decapsulate, they relate to chems. There, if there is a new primitive, there will also be some new crypto functions for them.
Format?
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
that's not an enum, right?
yeah.
Oh, it's not an enum. Yeah, it's just examples. Okay. Sorry. What about state?
So I don't know if that should change in the near future. I copied those states from the NIST SP 800 57, but they were defined for key management. So
Yeah. So it doesn't make
seems quite
sense
safe.
to extend that enum because the description
Ah,
linked to
okay.
this SP 857, right?
Got it. Okay. No, that makes perfect sense.
That maybe could change.
Yeah.
Can it?
Yeah, that could change. Protocols could definitely also change the names there.
So this one is related crypto materials properties / type. And this other one is protocol properties and then type. Are we going to externalize this?
Yeah, I think so. There are more protocols than that. But I guess here we also have a field name. If you scroll a little bit more down to define.
What's that?
I guess if you scroll down, there's okay, it's not part of it. I thought we added it. That you are able to define a protocol by its name, even if it's not part of the enum. But yeah, it's not the case. I thought we did it, but we didn't do it.
Is there a change that we want to make here?
I think we struggled in the past to define the protocol properties in a way to be more general than just TLS and how's the other Basil? IT E V2? That the other protocol where we have special fields for?
Yeah, like
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, with protocols, it's many more than that we have in the enum there. Just decided to have maybe the most
Common.
mainstream or common one is TLS, right?
Yeah.
Then IPsec. Yeah.
Yep.
And for those, we added some special properties to describe them more in more detail, right?
Yep. No, I think this makes sense. And especially to externalize this.
The question is if we can add a more general field also to describe properties of other protocols in more detail. If someone wants to do that, like for SSH or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, we have crypto, what's it called? CryptoRef or
Yes.
CryptoRef array or something like that, where you can basically link it to crypto assets or crypto algorithms, and then, I mean, you could say, okay, a protocol is an implementation of an implementation of a certain set of algorithms, right? So you can, even with one that we don't have in the enum there or not in a special property, we can still describe what this protocol, what algorithms it uses, or what certificate it uses, and so on. So I thought that was a nice feature to have. So we can be specific about TLS, which is what everyone wants to use and wants to describe, but also allow to add the references for more not so common protocols.
Mm-hmm. So do we need a change here then, or no? I think we just said no, right?
Yeah, I mean, you suggested to add a name property there.
Oh, okay.
No, I was not suggesting. I thought I did already in the past because like the number of protocols are quite low that we specified there, and that you'll be able to still express more because we also knew back then how strict enums are were, but we didn't add it. So when we now externalize it, we don't have to add the name property. We can just extend. Yeah.
Yep. All right.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Yeah, and I guess in general, one can still think about something there to be more general and describe also a little bit more, but I guess it's with 1.5 we already added the capability to be more be capable to describe details of the further protocols.
Okay.
Sure.
Confidence levels. Why are all these things referencing a confidence level? Oh, wait. What are we on? Oh, because, okay, right. Okay, never mind.
I think after we make some, the idea was there to basically be able to express, let's say, if you identify these properties, like if you have a scanner that finds an algorithm, it might use a probabilistic method. So it's not, maybe it's not 100% sure that it's actually this algorithm, or it might be another one. So that could be expressed in confidence levels.
Right. We might want to move this over to, have you looked at the evidence section of the spec?
No.
No?
But if there is a more generic way to describe that, that applies to
Yeah.
everything, I think
We can extend evidence. I think that's the way, I think that's probably the better place to put that.
I
So
think that would be
like,
great if there's something we can extend that and use it for everything. Because here, I mean, we would also have to double check, or if we update some properties, we'd also have to update all the names of the confidence levels or
exactly.
more to that list, which is a bit, yeah, maybe not too optimal.
So we've got like evidence of identity. And then like if you drill into the evidence of identity, for example, let me just share my screen. Because I think it kind of relates to what we're doing here. So if you dive into evidence of identity, you can specify the field in which you are describing. You can describe the confidence of that. You can describe the individual techniques that were used to for that evidence and the confidence of each one of those techniques. And then, of course, the tools used to collect or analyze that evidence to make that which made that determination, right? So we could kind of model it maybe after this because all this is already kind of structurally there. So instead of having just a confidence levels, we can actually build it out a little bit better and then put it into that evidence section. I think that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, this looks really good because I'm not sure if we still have it in there, but we also had a field called scanner basically, which would say how you identified this crypto asset. And I think here it's would perfectly match
Yeah.
method, right? Or the tool. So you have a scanner that uses, I don't know, AI or whatever to identify.
Right. Yeah, in CycloneDX 1.4, evidence basically only consisted of licenses and copyrights, and then in 1.5 we added identity, we added different occurrences, so like you could have a single component, but maybe it's on the file system like multiple times. And then we added the ability to actually represent entire call stacks as well. So you could express, for example, is this component actually being invoked or not? And then if it is, you could actually express that call stack.
So yeah, we have this field, I think, called detection context. I think would also map there where we can say something like the symbols detected or the line numbers where it's detected, or an offset in a binary.
Yeah.
Yeah, also for source code. I mean, we use it actually currently to express findings in source code, and then also use it to generate, for example, hyperlinks to GitHub, where you can find those things. So this is a really important part for us. So if we be able to express it in a more general way with the existing schema,
Yeah.
would be great.
Yeah. Okay. Can I expect a pull request at some point then to kind of use the evidence part, or does it warrant more discussion? maybe next week we can discuss that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we would need to look at it and compare if what we can do with the evidence, or if we need maybe something more in the evidence.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I would expect maybe, I don't expect you kind of reusing identity or whatnot, but maybe there's a new thing that we can put in evidence that doesn't exist today, right? Because this is not really evidence of identity. This is evidence of something else. Okay.
So evidence of identity. So an identity is basically a component, or is this the?
Yeah, like evidence of identity is like, well, I have Apache Commons IO, and I have evidence that I've identified that library via its Maven POM file, for example, which is how you build Java projects. Maybe that's my only evidence versus maybe evidence that also has the POM file, and maybe it has, maybe some binary analysis as well that confirms, in fact, yes, this is actually Apache Commons, because your build manifest can lie to you, right? There's abuse cases where developers can say, oh, this is Apache Commons, but it's actually some malicious library, right? Because your build files, your build scripts they're not intelligent. So if you had multiple ways to express that, yeah, this is in fact this library, and we are such and such confident with that assertion, then you kind of build up a level of trust in your inventory itself. Was kind of the idea.
Yeah.
So this kind of all ties back into SBOM quality. So if we go to the guide, there's the authoritative guide to SBOM. You can either download it or read it online, but there's a section for SBOM quality, and confidence techniques are part of these dimensions. So that's kind of why it exists. So being able to fit into this model with cryptography, I think, is going to be kind of important.
Yeah, I think we also want to describe similar things at the end, right? So we want to say this is AES 128, and that's the identity, right? And it occurs in this file, in this line number, or in these line numbers of source code, or it occurs in this offset of a binary, or it occurs in these symbols of a binary,
right,
or this file, or with these keywords, on this file path on a system. So things like that.
Got it.
And it was using this and this tool that used certain methods to identify that. Yeah, that's what we have here. That's this detection context.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this could be useful for things outside of crypto too.
It's also what you use, Nicholas, right, in the tooling for
Exactly.
For highlighting the source code.
Yes.
Okay, so it looks like that's all the enums. So primitive, curve, implementation platform, certification level, mode, padding, crypto functions, related crypto materials type, and there was a protected something property type as well. So those are the enums that then will I'll offload by this time next week. And we are already at time. Wow, that went fast.
Yeah, time flies by.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate this. I think we made a lot of progress today. And congrats again on the article and that being published. We'll continue to promote that on our end. So let me know if IBM publishes something else as well related to that. And also let me know, I know the folks at MITRE were looking into this as well. So kind of, keep me in the loop on
Yep.
anything related to that as well.
Yep. Will do.
All right. Well, have a great day. I'll talk to you all soon. Cheers.
Yeah,
Thank you. Have a great day, Steve.
Okay.
Bye,
See you
Basil.
next week. Bye.